With this agreement, the United States and Russia, the two largest nuclear powers in the world, also send a clear signal that we intend to lead by upholding our own commitments under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. We strengthen our global efforts to stop the spread of these weapons and to ensure that other nations meet their own responsibilities.
As if passing health care was not enough, President Obama caps off the week with another victory, this nuclear arms treaty he's worked out with the Russians.
This was a big week for the White House and a surprise visit there by the president to the briefing room. Always nice to see him there. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Karen Travers.
Each weekday, we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics. Karen, thank you for sitting in for our colleague Rick Klein today.
Thank you so much.
Get us started. What's your top line?
All right, as you just heard, start spreading the news. President Obama announced today that the United States and Russia have signed an agreement on nuclear non-proliferation. Now, this treaty is going to reduce the stockpiles by about 1/3. This came after a year of very intense negotiations, David. They're very excited to announce this today. President Obama will travel to Prague next month to sign this with President Medvedev, the same place where he gave that speech last April on this exact same subject.
In that speech, calling for an end to all nuclear weapons in the world as a goal. Obviously, this gets nowhere near to accomplishing that, but it is a key step. But after several missed deadlines to try to renegotiate this treaty. Next up, spring break. Congress is heading out of town, that's right. But of course, it wouldn't be Washington if they were heading out of town without some gridlock behind. Tom Coburn, the Republican senator from Oklahoma, is holding up this jobs extension bill in Congress. Democrats none too pleased. You remember Jim Bunning from Kentucky did this a few weeks ago. This is a short-term extension, Karen, of COBRA benefits and unemployment insurance. And the Republicans want this paid for with some stimulus funds. Democrats want to basically put it on the credit card.
Of course, as you said, the Republicans want this offset somewhere else, and it looks like there really isn't going to be a deal in this. So on April 5th, some people's benefits will be expiring. They'll set to expire on April 5th. In more bipartisan, I guess, news, reunited, and it feels so good. Out in Arizona today, Senator John McCain campaigning again with his old pal Sarah Palin. This is the first time the two have been on the trail together since November of 2008. And what an optic. That's just a great picture of the two of them out there. Now he really needs her out there.
Right. I mean, he introduced her to the national stage in August of 2008, which, of course, she then took on a celebrity status for her on the international stage as well. And now he really needs her to help shore up some support among the conservative base because he's in a tough Republican primary. What he is acting like is the fight of his life against J.D. Hayworth for the Republican nomination to the U.S. Senate in Arizona. So he's brought in Scott Brown, and now this weekend, Sarah Palin, she'll also go off and headline some tea parties up in Nevada later in the weekend. And it's never too early. That's right, folks. We cannot resist 2012 polling. And even though it is ridiculously early, CNN and Opinion Research is out with a new poll today, and it does show Mitt Romney leading the pack with about 22% support among Republicans, followed by Palin and Huckabee right up there in a tight race with him. But it comes, these good numbers for Mitt Romney, just as he's taken to Iowa this coming Monday to sell his book. Yeah.
That works out
so he's going to be able to take those numbers to the state that thwarted his presidential ambitions in 2008, but he's clearly laying all the groundwork for another round.
And David, is it ever really ridiculously early in our world? We were all looking at polling the day after Election Day in 2008, always looking to the next one.
Never too early. We're going to begin with the big announcement that came from the administration yesterday out of the Pentagon about easing some of the don't ask, don't tell regulations. We were talking about it yesterday on the show. Today we're joined by Lieutenant Dan Choi, a West Point graduate, Iraq War veteran, who received a letter that you were being discharged from the military because you came out publicly stating that you were gay, but you're fighting that right now. Lieutenant Choi, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, David and Karen. I am fighting it. That's just what's in my training. I can't do anything but continue to fight. I mean, this is something of a mission now.
So this has become a campaign for you. When you heard this announcement yesterday from Secretary Gates that they were going to, obviously this is not repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which the president has promised, but that they were going to try to ease some of the rulings here so that not as many people, I guess, were caught in being discharged and being outed in the military. Is this enough for, again, barring Congress repealing it, which I know is your goal, is this step significant?
As far as when we consider the numbers of people that get kicked out, you know, the majority of people that get kicked out, they don't get kicked out for these reasons. They get kicked out because they just refuse to lie anymore about who they are. And so the bottom line is no. it does not actually repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And the only way that we're going to see any kind of substantive progress or momentum is if the president takes real leadership here and shows resolve. He has the defense authorization bill. He can include repeal language when he sends that to the Senate, and that will allow for the Senate to, if for those opponents of Don't Ask, Don't Tell's repeal, they would have to come up with 60 votes to strip that out of the bill. So that's the only way that the president can really add momentum. It is on his desk right now, and so the ball is in his court.
So would you say that what the administration announced yesterday, is that more symbolic, or do you think this can actually have some tangible benefits to helping people?
When I think about symbols versus the tangible benefits, I have to look very deeply at what Don't Ask, Don't Tell is at its deep down core. And when I think about my 10 years, 11 years now, serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it is the institutionalization of shame, of hiding, of lying and forced deception. So when you actually want to tackle the reasons why Don't Ask, Don't Tell is so absolutely intolerable and so absolutely opposed to every one of our Army and military's values as well as American values, it's because it compromises our integrity.
I know you were protesting at the White House, I believe it was last week, maybe?
That's right.
Chained yourself to the fence at the White House there and it was arrested. Explain to me, though, I understand you've been serving under 11 years of this. Do you not applaud the president's efforts to engage the military in this year-long review, to take a serious look at this and determine which parts of this are going to be most difficult to get the entire military on board so that the repeal can move forward? I'm assuming you take him at his word that he wants to repeal the law. You take him that he wants to do that eventually. I know it may not be happening as fast as you'd like. But do you applaud the review, A, and B, tell me what you think, as the military undergoes this review, what they're going to find to be the biggest stumbling block to getting this overturned? Well,
David, the president has made it very clear. And as an Army officer, I heard very clearly those 7 words: I will end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He also said that he would work with Congress and it would be repealed this year. He also asked for all of the American citizens to help him by putting pressure on leaders just like him. When I hear him say that, I realize that as an Army officer, I have a responsibility to do everything that I can to make sure that he gets that very clear message. As for the review, my question is, as an Army officer, why do we have to study something when we know it's the right thing to do?
But answer my question.
Right.
But answer my question. Don't pose another question. Answer my question. What do you think they are going to discover that might be the biggest stumbling block for the military as they undergo this review?
Well, I think that when you talk about a review, they will see that in Australia or in Canada or in Israel or even in our own services at home, in the Secret Service or the CIA or the FBI, they got rid of their discriminatory policies. And what you look at right now is we are now hiring people and keeping them on our teams because of the talent that they can provide. So they'll certainly find that if you follow all of the other organizations and militaries around the world, that there really is nothing that's holding us back as to how we should implement the reversal of discrimination.
And Lieutenant Choi, we don't have much more time, but not do you want it, but can this actually happen this year? It's an election year. Can this actually get accomplished?
Well, it's not so much a matter to me about political expediency or looking at polls. I never studied politics. I was studying Arabic during my time at West Point, so I don't have the privilege of being able to speak, about all of the election cycles. But as an Army officer, when you talk about those people who have to remain silent, it's not a matter of can or a matter of should. It's a matter of we must do this. And all these people that are organizing, all these people that stood with me on the White House fence, Robin McGehee, the co-founder of GetEqual.org, and all these other organizers who just are standing up together and we're saying, we are somebody. We'll continue to speak up because that's our duty.
Lieutenant Dan Choi, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.